Hey everybody, I'm going to do a ranking of Cat Stevens' greatest hits, the compilation of some of his most popular songs anyway, that came out in 1975. I was 14 and I bought this album when it was out. I hope you'll consider watching. In the midnight moonlight hour, I keep walking along that lonesome mile, and every time I do, I keep seeing this picture of you. Here comes my baby, here she comes now. And it comes as no surprise to me, with another guy. Here comes my baby, here she comes now. Well, if I dare, I'm going to rank the 12 songs on this album. It's not a review of the album per se. I might do that later, because I think the concept of Cat Stevens and greatest hits is kind of an interesting one, because a lot of his greatest songs aren't necessarily his greatest hits. But anyway, I'm going to rank the 12 songs on here. I thought it'd be kind of fun to do. They are Wow World, Oh Very Young, from Buddha in the Chocolate Box, Wow World from T for the Tiller Man, Can't Keep It In from Catch Bullet 4, Hard Headed Woman from T for the Tiller Man, Moon Shadow from Teaser and the Fire Cat, Two Fine People, one of the two songs that were new at the time that you got on this album. That's a really nice Cat Stevens pop song. On side 2, you got Peace Train from Teaser and the Fire Cat, Ready from Buddha in the Chocolate Box, Father and Son. Oh, you know that's a good one. Sitting from Catch Bullet 4, the great piano song. Morning is Broken from Teaser and the Fire Cat, another great one. And Another Saturday Night. That's a Sam Cooke song from the 50s. That's just terrific. So let's without further ado, I'm going to rank these. This is not a review, and I kind of feel funny ranking them. But I'm going to rank them. So let's get started. Number 12, I put down Can't Keep It In. It's a great song. It's off Catch Bullet 4. Something had to go in number 12 slot. I do think Can't Keep It In is kind of a song on Catch Bullet 4 that was kind of a little more upbeat, and I think the record companies put this out. What I remember reading years ago is that the record companies released this because they knew Cat Stevens' popularity was waning, along with a lot of the folksy singer-songwriter type artists that were so great in the early 70s. But he was still pretty popular in 1975, and they were trying to capitalize on his popularity. But it sounds like they were also kind of trying to push him in a more commercial direction. I think I've read that in other places, like Is It So's kind of like that. And I always thought the Cat record company kind of put this album together, and I thought maybe that's why they picked Can't Keep It In. It's a fine song, but maybe wouldn't be one I would have put on a Cat Stevens greatest hits album. But anyway, it's a fine song. I put it number 12. Number 11, kind of similar, I put Ready from Buddha in the Chocolate Box is number 11, another song on here. I don't remember hearing either Can't Keep It In or Ready on the radio. I think I heard Ready some on the radio. But I think I heard like Sun C79 more on the radio. But I think Ready's a really fine song. It's kind of an R&B song, kind of and it's got that super duper good band he had on Buddha in the Chocolate Box, which was kind of an ensemble band. All his bands were always good. I loved the little folksy trios he had when he like on those early folk albums. But boy, Buddha in the Chocolate Box, he's got a really good like adult contemporary ensemble band, like a 70s style ensemble band, and they're just terrific. And Ready's a good song. Again, it's not a song I would have selected from Buddha in the Chocolate Box necessarily to go on this album. And I actually remember hearing on FM more Sun C79 and a couple other tracks off Buddha in the Chocolate Box, because I'm old enough to remember the radio, and I listened to it a lot, so I remember what that was played usually pretty well. But anyway, I put that at number 11. Number 10, I put Wow World. And Wow World is a great song. It had to go somewhere. Part of the reason I put it a little farther down the list is maybe I've heard it so much, and I've also played it a lot. I was in I've been in a bunch of little duos and things over the years, playing in restaurants, and anytime we would play Cat Stevens, we would get a request almost immediately for Wild World, and we would play it. So it's a great song; everybody would love it. But and by the way, we took a lot of requests, especially if they gave us a tip. That was kind of one of our things. We were a request band. You could ask us to play stuff from the period we kind of highlighted, and we would often know it, or at least enough to fake it. But I've heard it a bunch of times, and I think like on T for the Tillerman, they're just wonderful, wonderful, outstanding songs. And Wild World's one of them, but there are a bunch of good songs on T for the Tillerman. Number 9, kind of similar to Wild World, I put Moonshadow. I think Moonshadow might be one of Cat Stevens' very favorite songs. I like it. It's kind of whimsical. It's got that, I've got my guitar here. And if I ever lose my lands, lose my plow, lose my lands, oh, if I ever lose my hands, oh, yeah, I won't have to cry, no work no more, walk no more, I don't know. That's one of those songs, you're never sure what it means, what the context is. And yet it's but yet it's very pleasing and pleasant, and it's also sort of profound. I don't know why it's profound. I don't know what philosophy of life exactly is expressed in Moonshadow, but it has one, and it's also, I think, more than anything, just the capturing a mood of Cat Stevens when he was young. I think in Spain, but just captured some time in his life, and that's a great thing about a song like that. It just probably popped out of him, and he's been singing it all these years since, and it's almost like a little snapshot of that very special, awesome mood he was in. I'm assuming it was night and the moon was shining, but great song, definitely. I put it number 9. Number 8, I put Two Fine People, a really good song. If you ever get a chance to hear that one, that's just now that I've passed your test. And I heard him say that he kind of ripped himself off. He ripped off Wild World to do that song. The chords are a little bit similar, but it doesn't sound like Wild World, I don't think. I don't hear that too much. But it's a fine song, and it's kind of a mid-'70s Cat Stevens pop song, and it's a very good one. One other thing about Two Fine People is the second verse is a little bit PG-13, not raunchy. But not just romantic either. It's a little bit PG-13, and it's great. I remember when I was 14 when I bought this album, and I liked that verse. I shouldn't even admit it, but it's a fine song, and that's one that was on here. So if it were 1975 and you had all the Cat Stevens albums, which I imagine a lot of Cat Stevens fans did, a lot of the Cat Stevens fans bought all his albums, really. I know I did, and I know a lot of other people who did, but that would be a new one. That would kind of entice you to buy the album, and it's a good song. Number 7, I put Another Saturday Night, and that was kind of like that. It was a new one that was on this album, and it's a cover of Sam Cooke, the great 50s artist, his song Another Saturday Night, Another Saturday night, and I ain't got nobody. I got some money 'cause I just got paid. Now how I wish I had someone to talk to. I'm in an awful way. I like this humor. Another fella told me he had a sister who looked just fine. Instead of being my deliverance, she had a strange resemblance to a cat named Frankenstein. Did you ever have a guy say, would you like to go out with my sister to the prom or something? She doesn't have a date, and she's, I don't know. Of course, looks don't matter, do they? But Sam Cooke said instead of being my deliverance, she had a strange resemblance to a cat named Frankenstein. Kind of funny. I don't know if those are good lyrics, but they're kind of humorous lyrics. By the way, Sam Cooke was just a terrific artist. And I think Cat Stevens, that to me is significant because Cat Stevens did all those old 50s songs, and that was kind of his roots. And sometimes I think people forget that. And his swinging London pop career, we almost just kind of don't even pay attention to it. But a lot of those songs were like that, although they were done with kind of late 60s arrangements, and he looked like late different. And I sometimes think how he looked in the arrangements make us not even pay attention to those albums, including me, but I'm going to start listening to them. But I think a lot of those Sam Cooke type songs were kind of maybe what he grew up with. And but Sam Cooke's got that really good one. Don't know much about history, don't know much biology, don't know much about no rise and fall, don't know much about nothing at all, but I do know 1 and 1 is 2. And if this one will be with you, what a wonderful world it would be. What a great, and it's What a Wonderful World. Of course, What a Wonderful World is a Louis Armstrong song that we always think of. I'm going to grab this album. But Sam Cooke's got a great What a Wonderful World too, and I personally prefer it. It's a great song, and Cat Stevens apparently was a big Sam Cooke fan, maybe grew up with that music. It would be kind of his music of his youth. And he does a great version of Another Saturday Night, and it's kind of updated, for a mid-70s sound. And that was a big radio hit. I mean, Another Saturday Night was a big hit, and you heard that a lot. So it kind of went into the top 40 in that time. Meant it was a big hit. And the kind of funny thing was, it wasn't a big hit, his version of it. They put it on here, and it became a big hit. And it's sort of like, if you build it, they will come, theory of greatest hits. Walking along with a love that's so, so fine, never to be mine, no matter how I try. Well, you never walk alone, and you're always talking on the phone. And I try to call your name, but it always comes out the same. Here comes my baby, here she comes now, walking along with a love that's so, so fine, never to be mine. Here comes my baby, yes, here she comes. Number 6, I put down Hard-Headed Woman off T for the Tillerman, an excellent song with, in particular, really great lyrics, but also excellent chord structure. That's got that almost, it sounds like kind of one of those French torch songs in some spots. Really, really great song. I remember a lot of girls used to like that. Not that only girls liked it, but I just remember that was a really popular one with a lot of girls I used to know. Number 5 was Sitting. I kind of have special memories of Sitting. Of course, Sitting is a great song off Catch Bullet 4. And Sitting might have been one of the first Cat Stevens songs I ever really heard and paid attention to as Cat Stevens. I'm not sure. I'd have to try to remember but I think it might have been the first Cat Stevens song I ever heard, because we used to listen to albums in band. Excuse the digression, but we used to listen to albums in band. They had one of those big old furniture type record players, and the band room was always empty before band, so we'd go in there and play records, and everybody'd bring in records, and I remember hearing Uriah Heep live, where we Sweet Lorraine, Sunrise, July Morning. I remember the first time I ever heard Black Dog by Led Zeppelin, and we used to play them loud, and that guitar coming in just really, I just remember it turning everybody's heads, and that was the first time I ever heard that, Led Zeppelin 4. I remember hearing George Carlin, 7 Dirty Words You Can't Say on TV. And I also remember one album we listened to in that session was Cheech and Chong. We listened to several Cheech and Chong, but we were 13. I wonder if they let 13-year-olds listen to something like Cheech and Chong today, but we were like, I remember, Dave? No, Dave's not here, man. No, this is Dave. No, Dave's not here. We used to think that was hilarious. The other funny one was, what you doing, man? Oh, I'm watching some movie about Indians, man, but it's really boring. Hey, that's not a movie about Indians, man. That's a test pattern. On TV when they used to have those test patterns in the middle of the night. Can't even imagine that now. There'd be nothing on TV between like 2 and 6 a.m. and they'd have a test pattern. What you watching, man? Some movie about Indians, but it's really boring. Hey, that's not a movie about Indians. That's a test pattern. But I digress. But anyway, we listened to Catch Bullet 4 some in those sessions, and I think that might have been one of my first times where I really listened to Cat Stevens, and that sitting always caught me, that great piano. And also the great lyrics, life is like a maze of doors and they all open from the side you're on, so you don't know what's on the other side. Just keep on pushing hard as you may, boy. You're going to wind up you started from. Great song. Number 4, we're getting into the gems. I put Father and Son. It's not time to make a change. Just relax, take it easy. You're still young, that's your fault. There's so much you have to know. Find a girl, settle down. If you want, you can marry. Look at me, I am old, but I'm happy. What a great song. I'm going to just keep playing it, but just an excellent song. That's what I mean about greatest hits. I'm not sure that's a greatest hit. I don't remember hearing it like on the top 40 much. I'll stand corrected. I definitely remember hearing it some on FM Rock, where they played a lot of Cat Stevens, especially in the early 70s. But what a great song. And I think just the strength of the song and the way it touches people has made it such a classic over the years. It's kind of like Candle in the Wind. It's kind of on the album, and it's over time. It's just become a song that everybody loves. And if you haven't heard it, listen to it. You'll love it too. But it's a father and a son, singing. And the father's the low voice, and he's kind of cautioning the son, go slow and do stable and responsible type things, and the son's kind of got the higher octave if you listen, and he's wanting to see the world and doesn't want to be tied down, and maybe like a lot of young people, and it's just a timeless generational tale. That was number 4. Number 3, I put Morning is Broken, just an excellent song. Another one he didn't write, kind of like the Sam Cooke, he didn't write that, Another Saturday Night. But Morning is Broken is actually a hymn, and it's a Scottish tune called Bunessan. And, that's a hymnal tune. And if you ever look at the bottom right-hand corner of a lot of hymnals, they have the tune name. And those tunes, you take the words away, the sacred tune, the sacred words, if you will, if you believe that. But you take all that away, what you really have are a lot of really old classic tunes. A lot of them are from Scotland or Ireland or England, or some of them are from France or other places, but especially a lot from Scotland, Ireland, and England, and quite a few from France. And they're just as pure tunes, some of the great tunes in the history of tunes. And that Morning is Broken, which is an old Scottish tune called Bunessan, which I believe is a place in Scotland. A lot of times they're named after a place where they're associated with. And it's just an excellent tune to start with. And in the 1920s, there was a poet who wrote a poem, Morning is Broken, called Eleanor Fargian. And it's just an excellent poem, very kind of literate, but also beautiful and spiritual. And those words were put to that text. Those words were put to that tune of Bunessan, to what is one of the great hymns in the hymnal. And we sing that a lot in church. It was best. Number 2, one of the great acoustic guitar intros of music. Oh, I've been happy lately, thinking about the good things to come, and I believe it should be. Something good has begun, 'cause out on the edge of darkness there rides a peace train. Oh, peace train, take this country, come take me home again. peace train sounding louder. Glide on the peace train. Ooh. And Cat Stevens always has those like, ooh, ah, you know, and I don't know how he pulls it off. They're hard to pull off, like all those ooh, I, E-I-O-I, I don't know, just those syllable things, but he does them great. Peace Train's an awesome song. I think that was kind of like their Freebird. I don't know if that comes across on the album, but in concert, they really rocked that out, I think, you know. And that was one thing about that Buddha in the Chocolate Box band. You've heard me say, if you watch any of these Cat Stevens videos, I think that's a really good album, and it signaled a new direction he might have taken, which was still acoustic music, not turning his back on that, but he had a really good band, and I think they really rocked that Peace Train out. And the other thing is that's such a good acoustic guitar intro. You know, what are some of the great acoustic guitar intros, like Ventura Highway? I've got it in my thumb. I don't have a pick. Chewing on a piece of grass. That is 70s. That's like long hair, blue jeans, acoustic guitar music. Chewing on a piece of grass. I don't know if that's exactly what he meant to say, but I mean, all those, that's a great acoustic guitar intro. And Peace Train's got one of those great acoustic guitar intros, you know. Number one, I put down Oh Very Young, and I was wondering if all of you would have picked that as your number one. All those songs are good, but to me, that is one of the best songs Cat Stevens ever did, Oh Very Young, a very beautiful song. A poignant song. The music in it is great. And again, it's got that Buddha in the Chocolate Box band, that ensemble he had on Buddha in the Chocolate Box, which could take like the acoustic heart of it, Cat Stevens songs, not lose that. Keep the acoustic feel and the folksy feel of Cat Stevens, but add those kind of ensemble 70s era embellishments. And it's just an excellent, excellent song, you know. I remember learning that. I learned some of those on guitar, even though they're piano, and it kind of helped me learn to pick when I was like 8th grade, 9th grade. But what a great song. You know, the passing of youth is such a beautiful theme, a poetic theme, a timeless theme, really. And that Cat Stevens in that song evokes that timeless theme of the passing of youth so effectively, lyrically, in terms of the songwriting craftsmanship, and in terms of the band he had. It really was the great package. On Over Young, what I really especially like are those background vocals from those female singers. Oh man. Oh, got to be some of the best background vocals I know of. Those women that he had singing those background vocals on Over Young is just timeless, great BGV background vocals. So I put Over Young first, but you know, I don't know if I dare to rank them. This wasn't a review of the album, but it is a good album. Would I recommend it? That's an interesting question, because if you really like Cat Stevens, what I would recommend is buying his albums. You know, and hearing, because each album is different and they're all good and they all kind of have they're all singular products. Every album should be heard as an album, I would argue. And so anytime you just pull individual tracks off all those good albums he did, you lose some of the cohesiveness of the album. And I sort of think that makes the listening experience suffer in some ways. I don't not recommend it. It's a good album to have. But it's interesting. Cat Stevens' greatest hits, because a lot of his best songs are album tracks. And if you like Cat Stevens and you're trying to expose yourself to, I maybe would get, you know, kind of start collecting his albums and listen to those rather than this be your Cat Stevens album, because this is a little bit of everything. And it doesn't even really have some of his actual hits that he did in the late 60s, like Here Comes My Baby and some of those songs, which were bona fide hits. Just shows you that that late 60s Cat Stevens, that kind of swinging London Cat Stevens, that kind of Engelbert Humperdinck type artist of the old pre-beard, pre-hippie Cat Stevens, we don't even consider him as the same artist. The same guy wrote those songs. You could have done a lot of those songs with more acoustic flavors, and they would still be Cat Stevens songs. But anyway, I don't know if I'd recommend this or not. I definitely recommend the album. I mean, definitely. I mean, if you get it, it's worth. You'll like it. It's got 12 good songs on it. I guess if you really want to get into Cat Stevens, I'd start collecting his albums. But this is a good collection. And in some ways, trying to get 12 songs from such a great artist, but also one that did so many kinds of different things and call it Cat Stevens' Greatest Hits, is a tall order. And this was also kind of a record company product. I think it shows the hand of the record company kind of trying to assemble something they thought was a little more commercial. And I think sometimes they put a few on here that I would not necessarily have selected. Then again, I'm not a record company executive. they might have different priorities. But definitely a good album. And I'm going to do more Cat Stevens. You know, I had a number of people say that they like my Cat Stevens videos, and I grew up with him. I know all his music pretty well, and definitely one of my favorite artists. Thanks. God bless. Here she comes now, and it comes as no surprise to me with another guy. Here comes my baby. Here she comes now, walking along with a love that's so, so fine, never to be mine, no matter how I try.